Well, you're thinking about getting into PRS and you want to run a gas gun. You got an AR-15 sitting in your safe that you used to use for 3-gun and you're thinking, hey, maybe I could use that in PRS to go out to 1,000 yards for center fire. Nah, can't use this. You're going to have to use this. Hi everyone, it's a 4-Gun Guy, and today we're going to go over the latest addition to the 4-Gun Guy family, my Seekins SP10 6.5 Creedmoor gas gun for PRS. That's a mouthful. But look, I sold a scope and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to have some fun. I'm running a bolt gun in PRS, and maybe next year I just want to have some fun. So I went out and I bought this Seekins. So what I really wanted to go over today was, let's talk about why I wanted to run a gas gun in PRS. Let's talk about why I chose the Seekins, the SP10. Let's look at the upgrades, or actually I just want to go over the features and kind of talk about some of the features. That'll be in the why as well. I want to go up, talk about the upgrades that I made to this, because I decided that I wanted to make some upgrades to it. And then we'll get some range time and some final thoughts. So if you're ready to go, let's get to it. Let's talk about why I went to a gas gun, and I'm going to maybe run this in a couple matches this year just to have some fun. So I was looking at some options. I've been shooting PRS now for what, 3-4 years, and you know, things, I'm not saying it gets stale, but it's like any other hobby, right? You want to try something different. And I was thinking of going into the production division, but quite honestly, there's not that much difference between a production rifle for me and my open bolt gun, right? I would probably want to have kept it in either the 6mm BRA that I shoot in my current bolt gun, or the 6.5 Creedmoor that was the bolt gun I ran when I first got into PRS, because I've already got the dies, all the dies, everything for the 6.5 Creedmoor. I've got like 700 alpha cases that I had when I was running that bolt gun. And so from a production standpoint, it just didn't make any sense, either if I was going to stay 6 BRA or I was going to go to 6.5 Creedmoor. So what? It's another bolt gun, right? And now I'm restricted to what I can pay for it, what optics I can put on it, and everything else. So that kind of put production out of sight. Tactical, I'm just not into that. So I looked at the gas guns, and I've shot matches with some guys who were running gas guns, and they just look like they're a blast in a PRS match. And from a chamber perspective, from a cartridge perspective, as I just said, I've got a lot of 6.5 Creedmoor stuff. So I thought, I'm going to stick with 6.5 Creedmoor. I love that cartridge. I love the 6.5 Creedmoor cartridge. I actually like it better than the BRA probably, except for the recoil. And with a gas gun, the recoil is going to be a little less because of just the system that you're using here. So that's why I went with the 6.5 Creedmoor and a gas gun. Let's talk about why I went specifically with the Seekins SP10 now. Okay, let's kind of do an AR-10 rifle comparison, and I'm going to put this up on the screen. This is not an exhaustive list. I put the Seekins SP10 at the very top of this list, and it comes in at about $2,800, okay, the basic rifle. If you are a PRS member and you use your PRS number on EuroOptic, and they're not giving me anything for this, I just like doing business with them because they support the sport. If you use that, you can get this rifle for $2,550. $2,550. So that's $250 off, right? 10% discount. Not a bad deal. I'm going to get into what all comes with this and why I bought it, but let's look at some of these other options that are out there for you, right? And I did these high to low, and then some at the bottom you can see are scratched out. We'll get to that. LWRCI, Rapid Engagement Precision Rifle, $3,800, very good quality. I've done some research on those. It's just expensive. I didn't want to go above a certain price point. My price point was right at the $2,500 mark, $2,600 mark. Wilson Combat Super Sniper, again, good quality, expensive. It's not ambidextrous, which for that price kind of surprised me a little bit. Daniel Defense DD5V5, good quality. The buttstock was pretty basic though, but otherwise a good build. Aero Precision Builder Kit, about 2,000 bucks, and you can build this thing to your specs. That's not a bad deal either, right? And I'm going to tell you why I kind of like that that option. You can really build it to what you want it to be, right? This was an all-in-one rifle, came assembled, everything. And I'm going to talk about why I like that in a minute. Palmetto State Armory, the Gen 3 PA-10. It's a budget rifle. I think if you were just starting out in this sport, and like I said on the picking your production rifles and production or scopes and whatnot, if you were just starting out and you loved gas guns, you could go get in it with something with like the Palmetto State, have some fun for the first year, figure out, you know, your positioning, movement on props and whatnot, get all your basics down. And you could do the same thing with a production bolt gun too. I'm just saying it would depend on what you like to run, and then move on to something else, right? But use that first year to really, really get into it. Now the last three here, the SIG, the Ruger, the Saint, I love the look of that Saint Victor. That thing is just awesome. But those three rifles were in 308 only. So, and I didn't want 308. But I included them here because if you're a 308 guy, you might look at those as well. So that's really one reason I went with the Seekins. But the more I started reading about this rifle, the more I just really liked what it came with, right? So let's talk about really what this thing does come with here in the next section. From an overview and a features perspective, I'm just going to run through what I really liked about this. The first thing I liked when I got it was I took it apart. That's a heavy-duty BCG bolt carrier group they have in here. The gas key is properly staked, which is something if you come from an AR platform, you know, where you were running it in 3-gun or whatever, the BCG is a very important part of the rifle. And a staked gas key is a really important part of the rifle. And they did a really good job on this. I think the quality here is heavy duty and really first rate. The stock, I really like this stock. It is adjustable. Now the butt pad is not, you know, totally adjustable where you unscrew it and adjust it in and out. But it's got the spacers that come with it. I've added those. It's perfect for me. It's got the cheek rest that rises up and down so you can adjust that. And really, that's all I really needed. Everything as far as the buffer tube goes, the weight, the spring, all that stuff is heavy duty in this, which I really, really like. And another thing I loved about this rifle was this handguard. And it's a 15-inch handguard. So I wanted something, you know me, I love that MDT ACC chassis when I had it. And now I'm an MPA guy, the Matrix Pro, which has a really long fore-end to it. And this is why I like this handguard. It's long. It does not come with an Arca rail, but we're going to talk about stuff like that here in a second. The other thing I like that this rifle came with, and a lot of these are these days, they're like this one came with a Trigger Tech trigger. So good trigger. There's a negative to that, but it's a really good trigger as well. The safety is ambidextrous, so all of that is ambidextrous. Mag release is ambidextrous, as is the bolt lock back. So everything is ambidextrous on this rifle. None of those others were, which really surprised me. Barrel length, 22 inches with a 1/8 twist. I already talked about the full length Picatinny rail. And it does come with an adjustable gas block, which I really, really like. Now, I upgraded this, and that's part of what we'll talk about in the upgrades, but it's still a Seekins gas block. It's just their selectable precision gas block. Let's talk about some of the things that that you just notice about if you're going into gas gun from bolt guns, okay? It's that generalized. One thing that this particular rifle didn't come with, and on their site it shows it, is a muzzle brake, which kind of surprised me. So we'll talk about this muzzle brake in a minute, but it did not come with a muzzle brake. I don't really care about that because I'm going to put my own muzzle brake on it anyway, but it's just if your picture on your website shows it, then I should get it, right? That's one of those things. The weight of the rifle. These are very light. When I first got this thing, I think it was 13 pounds weight. I've added some weights to it, and then with the scope, the bipod, and everything, I think I'm nearing, I weighed it just before I put the bipod on here, and I think I was at 19 and a half. So with the bipod, I'm really over the 20-pound weight, which is good for me. I'm liking that. My bolt gun's 23, but 3 pounds for this isn't going to make that big of a difference. Now let's get to the some things that are not here that you're going to want to get. Arca rail. It does not come with an Arca rail, and I didn't see any of them that really did. So just remember that, right? If you're going to go this route, you're probably going to need an Arca rail. We'll get to that in a second. The stock trigger that they do send with this, that Trigger Tech, it's very heavy, so you can't adjust it. And when I ran my Wheeler trigger weight kit on it, it was pulling at about 4.5 pounds, and that's way too heavy for PRS. So that's just an overview of the rifle. Oh, it does not come with an ambidextrous charging handle. That's the only thing that is not ambidextrous on it, and I may switch that out later, but for now, it's fine. It's fine. The build quality of this rifle is excellent. The Cerakoting is excellent. I love the look of it. Yeah, so it's really just a really, really good rifle. From a scope perspective, I went ahead and mounted my track toric on here, and I am using a Seekins mount. So I decided to I went Seekins with the rifle. I decided to go Seekins with the mount. It's been a really good mount. So yeah, very happy with it. Let's move on now to the upgrades I made to this to get it PRS ready for me. Let's talk about the upgrades now. So we started with the rifle. I'm going to put this up on the screen so you can see these numbers so you have a true cost of what this was. So the rifle, as I said before, I got through Euro Optic for $25.50. Again, you could build one much cheaper than that, but I just wanted to go this route. So the Seekins rifle. Then I added a Trigger Tech 2-stage trigger. So I replaced the Trigger Tech that came with this that only went to about 4 pounds. When I tested it, I think I said this earlier, that it was about 4.5 pounds. So I got the Trigger Tech AR-10 2-stage Diamond Pro. And I've got this set at about 1 pound. It says it goes down to 1.5 pounds, which is about what I've got it set to. So about 1 pound, 8 ounces, which is fine. Now my bolt gun is 8 ounces, but I'm going to tell you why you're probably going to want a heavier trigger on the AR. I talked to some folks about this, and they said, number one, in between shots, the semi-automatic rifles tend to, you have a better chance of accidentally double tapping when you don't want to. And in PRS, that would be a disqualification, right? So basically, I went with a 2-stage because I like a 2-stage trigger. I ran it in my 3-gun AR, and I just like the idea of the first shot. Another thing they told me was after you break that shot, each shot, you should hold the trigger back. Well, I do that already on my bolt gun, right? When I break the shot, I follow through all the way back and I hold it for about a second or two. So I'm very comfortable with that. So that's one thing. Number two, I like the 2-stage because the reset on it then resets, I don't reset just to the wall. I reset all the way, and then I come back to the wall. And I just like doing it that way. So that makes me think about it. So that's why I went with the two-stage trigger. The take-up on it's very short, and then you hit the wall and then it breaks. So that's why I went with that. Area 419 Arca rail. This is a 17-inch Arca rail, and if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I love as long as I can get out here, right? So I can put as much stuff as I want, and I can run this bipod out as far as I want to. If I'm shooting across tires that are wide or something like that, I want to be able to reach the other side of those things. So this was a great add-on. MPA DN3 muzzle. Now this says bolt muzzle. This is fine for this AR, but this is 6.5 Creedmoor brake. And again, with that discount from Euro-Optic, I got this thing for $118. And this is a great brake. I run the DN5 on my bolt gun, and I love that thing. So I got this for that. Select adjustable gas block. This is a Seekins gas block, but it's their select adjustable. I got this because I had initially thought I was going to run a suppressor on this thing. But I've kind of changed my mind. I still might play around with it, but I'm going to tune this for the muzzle brake without a suppressor. And the nice thing I like about this gas block is it's got this switch on the front. You can't see it there, but it's got a switch on the front, if you can hear that click. So I can tune it to the load that I have now, but as I shoot a match, or if I've shot a few hundred rounds through it and it starts getting dirty and I need more gas, I can easily just start to switch on more gas to run that BCG. So that's great. Terran Tactical +5 magazines. So I got these. And I've got a regular, these are just a regular Magpul mags. I'm going to tell you, if you get these Terran Tactical +5s, there is some Dremel work you're going to have to do to these magazines to make it feed 12 and 13 rounds through these things, but I made that work and now they work fine. So now I've technically got 15 round magazines, but I'll only load probably 13 rounds. So if we have a 12 round stage, I like to have a +1 in there. And then the last thing I did here was I added some weights. Now you can't see them, but go out there online, look at all the weight options you have, and they are ridiculous. They're stupid ridiculous. I'm not going to say the manufacturers. I don't want to embarrass people, but when you're asking me to give you $60 to $80 to add a half a pound or even 3/4 of a pound to my rifle. So if I wanted to add the same weight I have in here, it would have cost me $200 in weights. I got 2 bars of brass off of Amazon. I have a drill press. I drilled my holes in there. I painted them. I had some screws with some M-lock nuts on them, and I just put these in there. That whole thing cost me $30. And then I do have, I think I said this before, the Tractoric mounted in the Seekins mount. Now I didn't include that in these upgrades because that's not an upgrade. That's just a separate thing that you're getting with this. All right, well, there are the upgrades. There are the costs for the upgrades. So this rifle total cost is right at what, $32.50 basically for this rifle. Now, let's talk about that, because if we go up and look at this rifle list above it, the Wilson Combat, the Daniel Defense, the Aero Precision build, the LWRCI, all these rifles you're going to get, you're basically going to do the same stuff I did here, okay? You're going to need an Arca rail. You may not need the adjustable gas block, but I would highly recommend it. You're most likely going to replace the trigger like I did. You may even, and again, this may be something I upgrade to later on. I'm not sure yet. I need to run this thing first to see what's working and what's not working. The last 2 upgrades I may do would be a ambidextrous charging handle and maybe a boron BCG, because that's what I run in my AR, and that thing is smooth as silk. But I want to break this thing in for a little bit and see how it runs. Then we'll look at those other things. Okay, I think that's it. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and get this thing out to the range. I've got to zero the scope. I've got to make sure, I've got to adjust the gas block to make sure this thing's running right. So let's do all that, and then we'll come back for some final thoughts. Well, I've put it through some paces. There's one thing that I have really noticed with this rifle. With a bolt gun, I'm used to almost free recoiling it, right? You don't want to be clamped down on it. You can't really do that with this because the free recoil then helps absorb the gases that are pushing your BCG back, the bolt back, and you get hang-ups. So I've got to really work on staying on the rifle through the shot and not let it recoil too much freely. So with that said, I've got 4 shots in here. I've got a target down there about 400 yards. Let's go ahead and load this up and see what we can do here. So what would happen would be, I am on safe. The buzzer would go off. I'd come down, get in my position. I'm going to use a tripod here. We're on target. I'd run the bolt. I'm into it. Safe. Impact. Safe. The bolt did close, so I do have another round chambered. On target. Off safe. Impact. Bolt ran. I'm just going to make a habit of doing that. It's on safe. Next target. Or next position. On target, safe, impact, safe, checking it, yep, bolt ran, safe, impact, safe, mag is out, check the bolt is back, check that the chamber is clear, and it is, and I think I'm good. All right, so I think if I can kind of keep in mind those, what I just told you, and that is on this run, I did really make sure that before the shot, I had my shoulder into it, and I think it's going to work out really well. So look, initial shots with this thing are great. I'm still breaking in the barrel, so I'm just shooting some old ammo I had. Some 6.5 Creedmoor that I had made up with old Hornady brass. And then later on today, as I get about 100 rounds through this, I'll go back to the bench and I'll check my hand-loaded ammo, which I did yesterday using my Alpha brass with a load that I'm very familiar with. So let's get back to some final thoughts. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review of the Seekins Precision SP10. This, again, is chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. And I have to tell you, after I did the range time piece of this video, I probably sent another 90 rounds through this thing, and I just loved it. I mean, easy to shoot. Getting on target, staying on target after the shot, so nice, so simple to do with this. And I really got used to the whole gas gun thing for PRS, right? Where you're going on safe, you're moving off safe, and so forth. Did have a couple jams or failures to eject, but again, I think that part of that was because I'm still kind of getting used to this as opposed to my bolt gun and how I'm managing the rifle. Towards the end there, I didn't have any issues at all. I made some gas block adjustments. Everything seems to be working fine. And I think I might run this in more than a few matches next year for competition. So yeah, if you're looking to get into a larger caliber gas gun for PRS or just to plink around or for hunting, you might consider this Seekins SP10. It's a really good rifle for the money. And out of the box, I think it's up there with some of those top rifles, right? Just you take it out of the box, clean it up, you can shoot it, and it works really well. Well, thanks for watching. I've got a lot more stuff coming up, some interesting videos on relativity and the wind and ballistics. I have ordered the new Garmin, so I'll be getting that probably in another few weeks. I was kind of late to the game getting in on that. But when I get it, I'm going to do a review with a couple of my buddies, hopefully, on it, comparing it to Lab Radar and Magneto Speed. Well, thanks again, and until next time, shoot straight.